1959. The Cold War moved to the stars, and America was losing the space race badly.
The Soviets launched the first satellite. Then, they sent a probe to the moon. Washington panicked.
American scientists needed Soviet secrets. The CIA realized they had to steal a real spacecraft.
The Soviets were proud. They put their advanced space technology on a global exhibition tour. Millions of people marveled at the Lunik probe. Everyone thought it was just a fake wooden model.
But American spies noticed something shocking. The metal was real. The engine components were fully functional.
The Soviets made a massive, arrogant mistake. They put a highly classified working spacecraft on public display.
The tour moved to Mexico City. The CIA saw their one and only chance to strike. The probe was packed into a heavy wooden crate. Armed Soviet guards watched its every single move.
The CIA planned to hijack the truck. But they only had 12 hours before sunrise.
The CIA team trailed the heavy transport truck through the dark, rainy streets of Mexico City. The truck was heading to a heavily guarded train depot. The American agents planned a silent intercept.
The truck parked in a dark rail yard. The tired Soviet guards left for a quick shift change. This was their only window. The American operatives silently breached the heavy iron gates of the depot.
Moving like ghosts, they climbed into the back of the truck. The massive wooden crate sat waiting.
Inside the pitch-black truck, they found the target. The wooden box holding the ultimate Soviet space secret. They had to open the massive crate without leaving a single scratch. Precision was absolutely critical.
Working in total silence, agents used special muffled tools to remove the heavy bolts and thick wooden panels. The heavy panel slid away. The shiny metal sphere of the Lunik probe finally appeared in the dark.
They were ready to dismantle it. But sudden footsteps and a sweeping flashlight approached the truck. The Soviet guard shined his light inside. The agents held their breath, hiding in the pitch-black corners. The heavy footsteps slowly faded away. They had just survived the closest call of the entire operation.
With the guards gone, the real work began. They had to completely disassemble the alien machine.
Flashbulbs illuminated the dark truck. They photographed every single curve and metallic joint of the sphere.
They could not steal the whole ship. They had to steal its secrets, piece by tiny piece. The thick armor came off. Inside was a brilliant maze of advanced Soviet engineering and golden wires.
Outside, Soviet patrols continued their strict rounds. They never suspected the robbery happening right under their noses. Agents furiously copied down Russian serial numbers. This raw data would change the American space program forever. But time was completely up. A thin beam of morning sunlight suddenly hit the wooden floor. The operatives slipped quietly into the wet grass. Seconds later, the hairy boots of Soviet guards returned. The Soviet transport continued its journey perfectly on schedule. The enemy had absolutely no idea they were robbed. A Soviet officer checked the heavy iron lock. It was flawless. The perfect intelligence heist was complete. The stolen intelligence was priceless. Couriers rushed the raw camera film on a secret flight back to Washington. In a secure darkroom, the wet photos revealed everything. The absolute core of Soviet space superiority was exposed.
American rocket scientists finally had the missing puzzle pieces. They instantly analyzed the exact dimensions of the Lunik engine.
This changed the entire space race forever. Subscribe to War Cinema 4K to see America's ultimate revenge.
Armed with Soviet secrets, the United States rapidly accelerated their own program. The mighty Apollo project was born.
But the celebration ended quickly. Spy planes spotted a new, terrifying Soviet rocket on the launch pad.
The new rocket was a monster. It wasn't just built for space exploration. It was designed for nuclear war. The Soviets were adapting space technology into intercontinental ballistic missiles. The entire American homeland was suddenly targeted. This new weapon could strike Washington in 30 minutes. Stealing a parked truck would no longer save America.
The CIA needed total visibility. They had to see deep inside top-secret Soviet military testing grounds.
They created a new kind of spy. The U-2 aircraft flew at the very edge of outer space. Flying higher than any enemy fighter jet, it was practically invisible. It carried the most powerful cameras ever built. The Ghost plane crossed into hostile Soviet airspace. Its mission was to photograph the secret missile factories. From 80,000 feet, the spy plane captured perfectly clear images of Soviet nuclear preparations.
The pilot felt completely untouchable. America finally had the ultimate high ground advantage in the Cold War.
But the Soviets developed a deadly surprise. A massive surface-to-air missile suddenly locked onto the Ghost plane. The missile struck with devastating force. The invincible American spy plane shattered into pieces at 80,000 feet. Pilot Francis Gary Powers ejected into the freezing air. He floated down directly into hostile Soviet territory.
The wreckage crashed near Sverdlovsk. The CIA immediately lost all radar contact with their top-secret Ghost plane.
Angry Soviet troops quickly surrounded the crash site. They captured the American pilot before he could use his poison.
Washington panicked. To hide the espionage, the government quickly painted a fake NASA weather plane as a cover story.
The president lied to the entire world. He claimed a simple weather research aircraft had accidentally wandered off course.
But the Soviet Union set a brilliant trap. They stayed completely silent about the captured pilot.
Then, the Soviet leader revealed the shocking truth. He proudly displayed the living American pilot to the global press. The shattered spy cameras were heavily displayed in Moscow. The United States suffered a massive, humiliating public defeat.
Aircraft were no longer safe. The CIA needed a spy camera that could fly entirely outside the Earth.
Project Corona was born. If planes were shot down, America would spy from outer space.
A modified rocket blasted off. It carried a highly classified spy camera directly into Earth's orbit. The satellite flew right over the Soviet Union. It photographed secret bases with absolute impunity. But early satellites could not transmit digital images. The physical film had to be dropped back to Earth. A small capsule ejected from the satellite. It burned fiercely as it slammed into the atmosphere.
A parachute deployed. The capsule, carrying priceless intelligence, drifted slowly toward the vast Pacific Ocean.
American recovery planes circled the drop zone. Letting the film sink into the ocean was not an option.
A military cargo plane dove toward the parachute. It dragged a massive steel hook behind it.
They developed the space photos. But the images revealed a terrifying new Soviet threat closer to home.
The satellite photos showed Soviet nuclear missiles hiding under palm trees. They were in Cuba, right next door.
Panic struck Washington. The enemy bypassed the radar systems. Nuclear annihilation was now only minutes away.
The weapons were placed just 90 miles from the Florida coast. America was trapped in a deadly corner.
The president ordered a naval blockade. Massive American warships formed a massive steel wall across the dark ocean. But Soviet cargo ships refused to stop. They charged straight toward the American guns through the raging storm.
The United States military went to DEFCON 2. Heavy bombers loaded with nuclear weapons took to the skies.
The world held its breath. The Soviet fleet was only miles away from the strict quarantine line.
American sailors loaded the heavy deck gun. They had strict orders to fire if the enemy ships crossed.
Deep underwater, a Soviet submarine lost radio contact. The stressed commander held the launch key for a nuclear torpedo.
Believing the war had already started, he prepared to fire. World War III was seconds away.
But another officer intervened. Vasily Arkhipov refused the launch order, single-handedly saving the world from nuclear fire.
The Soviets finally blinked. Their heavy cargo ships turned around, and the deadly missiles left Cuba. The ultimate crisis was averted. The two superpowers stepped back from the absolute brink of human destruction.
The battlefield shifted back to space. Armed with stolen Soviet data, America built the legendary Apollo program.
10 years after the daring midnight heist, an American astronaut finally walked on the lunar surface.
The mighty Soviet space program slowly collapsed. Their once feared technology became a single, bold robbery in Mexico City secretly altered the entire trajectory of the terrifying Cold War.
The incredible mission remained highly classified for decades. The brave agents never received public medals for their actions. They were the invisible soldiers of a silent war, stealing the stars while the world slept peacefully. History is filled with unbelievable secrets. Subscribe to War Cinema 4K and join us for the next mission.